Hey everybody, I figured to do a little tour around Milwaukee, check out some of the sights, and figured you'd want to come along. So let's take a look. Let's check out some of the cool sights, have some good food, and check out the Milwaukee area. I certainly want to say that Milwaukee is definitely one of the stars of this trip. Really cool city and great vibe to it. So I figured to start with a hotel and take some images. It was a really nice hotel. I was staying at the Marriott downtown Milwaukee, and I just figured to take a few shots of the main lobby, some of the art that was hanging. They had this giant library section, which is like a lounge area, beautiful chandeliers. And I had a picture of the Marriott family, I guess, that constructed the hotels, and that was really cool. So this is the restaurant, Easttown Kitchen and Bar, that's at the bottom of the hotel. And really great food here, so I just wanted to add and include them into this overall video. You'll notice a lot of food. Here's my first experience with cheese curds, deep fried cheese curds. Those were delicious. And this one's a sauteed onion burger. That was amazing. And the next morning I had a giant plate of pancakes. I didn't get to my world's largest pretzel there, but I did get to a pretzel, and it was delicious. And local beers, Moonman beer, which was really tasty. So then the next night, we went to the Brat house. It was actually the same night the Bucks were playing, so it was pretty busy downtown there. Originally, we were going to go to Mater's, but we ended up in the Brat house, which is one of the ones on my list I wanted to try. And the food was amazing there. It was so delicious. And we had a good time at the Brat house down there. And it's funny, it's all down kind of the same street. There's a whole bunch of different kind of like pubs and bars and stuff. There's just a picture of the outside of the Brat house. And me in one of the windows. So this is the next morning, and really this is the Sunday. And I had some time to go around because the con was pretty much done, and I was going around. So the first stop was Mater's. I had to go to Mater's, and I missed it the other night. It was just too packed because of the Bucks playing downtown. It was you had to make a reservation to get in there. But I had the Sunday afternoon after AdeptiCon ended about 3 p.m. I left about 2, and then I had some chance to check out Mater's. So I got to take my time and go look around inside. They let me film inside, which was really super cool. So when you come in, they have this big plaque that tells you all the famous people. Of course, I added my name in there. But look at the architecture, the chandeliers in here. Lots of art and stuff inside. They had this big giant chair, carved chair at the front entranceway. Lots of stained glass windows with murals in them. Statues everywhere. So it was kind of like a museum on top of just being a bar and restaurant. I didn't take any picture of the staff, but they were all dressed in authentic garb, and I think it was very touristy, let's just say. But it was really great. I really enjoyed it. Here's some of the pictures. They had pictures of famous people that had eaten at this restaurant throughout the hallways. Here's some more of the art. They let me go upstairs, which is awesome. I guess they host parties and stuff up here. and they had lots of art to look at and stuff hanging on the walls. Like I said, it was more like a museum than a restaurant. But it was really cool of them to let me go up there and take some shots of the entire place. It was really neat. I can see having a function up there would be really awesome with all this history around you. This is probably my favorite piece, that carving of that knight on that horse is really awesome. Here's another image of it, that party room. It's a really cool chandelier. And yeah, there's just all sorts of stuff here. This is a statue on the stairwell going up into the upstairs. They had some weapons hanging on there, a lot of crossbows. And of course, beer steins. There's lots of German beer steins everywhere in here. So I try to capture some in here. There's art all over the place as well. Like these lighthouse ones were pretty neat. And I just do a little quick video of this is like the secondary room. There was that main room I was looking at. But then this is like another, looks like a very exclusive party room. Off to the side was all these really cases full of just kind of all sorts of different artifacts and carvings and beer steins and more crossbows, more weapons, all sorts of statues, and like lots to see in here. It was really, really cool. So I took my time in here. I had lots of time to kill. I mean, I wasn't flying out till the next morning, so I had lots of time to check out Mader's fully and go through the entire place. I did eventually go eat, and we'll talk about that in a sec, but I wanted to look at all this stuff first. And all the cool stuff that was in the actual restaurant itself. Yeah, it's kind of cool down the street there. They have all sorts of like Tudor-style buildings, and has that real German feel. So this is the first thing I had to try. It was a Reuben egg roll, deep-fried egg roll. Like, these are delicious. I highly recommend them if you're at this restaurant to eat those. And then I had the German sampler, so I had a little bit of everything kind of on the menu in one plate, and of course I had beer and sweet tea. I've been hooked on this sweet tea. The guys here have been getting me hooked on this sweet tea. And there's me enjoying beer before I headed out of Mader's. So I did a little filming of the outside of Mader's just so you can kind of see. I did somewhat walking into it. But there's a lot of carvings, and you can see that old style, Tudor style. This building's quite large, actually, kind of wraps around the block there. And there's lots of places to sit in there. And when you're in the restaurant itself, it's very deep. Like, to go to the washroom, it's quite far back in the restaurant. And they had like this clock in the corner of the parking lot. Really cool. So next up was the Milwaukee Public Market. This is something that was listed as one of the things to check out. And it's kind of like I would say it's like a shopping mall. It does have some merchandise in it, but it's a lot of like restaurants. And so it's like you took the food court, a really, really cool food court, and put it in a building. So there was a restaurant. There's a lot of seafood, and you get drinks there. But you can see that there's just a lot of wine being sold at different liquor stores. And then, of course, there's a place to get food everywhere. There was a confectionery counter that had chocolates and candies. There was a coffee booth. I ended up going there for iced coffee at the end. But you can see the wine down there. There was just so many cool things to look at. And, of course, it smelled great in there. All the food. And there's just some of the art that was folk art that was around in there. This giant swordfish hanging from the roof. And there's my my big purchase in the market. I stopped for something to drink. So that was definitely something worth going seeing. Wish I had more time to spend in there. But next up, I was trying to locate the bronze fawns. While I was doing that, I came across Shake Shack. And people told me to try out Shake Shack. Has really good milkshakes. So I put that to the test. Tried their new cherry blossom shake, and it was fantastic, by the way. So I kept going on my search to find the bronze fawns. Google Maps gave me totally the wrong location. I had to look at photos. And while I did that, I went over the Wisconsin Avenue Bridge and ran across a lot of plaques in history on Gertie the duck and its ducklings. There's a whole history about it during the Second World War. And the family of ducks making a nest here by this bridge. And it kind of gave hope to the people during a tough times. So they commemorized it with this statue, and there's also Millie the duck. It was donated to the city by an artist. So they kind of have them all on the same bridge. And this is the river walk that goes along Milwaukee. And I figured if I kept walking along this, I would eventually run into the bronze fawns because I knew he was on the river walk. So I just kind of said, forget about the Google Maps, and I just started walking, kind of looked at the pictures behind him and kind of pinpointed where he possibly could have been. So then I came up on him. There's the bronze fawns. I wanted to make sure I got a picture with them. A symbol of in Milwaukee. This is they filmed the Happy Days here, and they have a statue of the bronze fawns here. So there's me with them. Of course, I have to have a selfie. All right, so that's pretty much it. The other star of Milwaukee is the architecture. It has such beautiful buildings. But next up, I went to the safe house. So this is another thing that was on the list of to-dos, and I went later in the evening. Like I said, I was flying out the next day, but I wanted to check out the safe house. So you have to go down this back alley to get into the safe house. And there's a little red door, and there's like this generic sign, International Exports Limited. You have to walk through this door here, and in this video you can't see, but there's a guy sitting in that chair. And he asks you the secret passcode. And he made me do some dancing like a rabbit and a deer, and it was funny. So then you pull the lever to the secret door, which gets you actually into the bar. You go down this hallway down here. I didn't realize once I got close enough, it was kind of like an elevator door. It just kind of, I guess there must be something behind that mirror that knows that somebody's standing there, and it opens up, and now you're in the bar. So it's kind of cool. A lot of the bar was themed James Bond, really, spy kind of thing. And each booth was kind of for a different James Bond movie. And they have different sections of the bar. So, like, there's the Soviet part here that I went up. There's an English part, American part, just kind of all the countries that were kind of in the James Bond movies. So it's definitely very inspired by the 007 movies. And there's a lot of posters and images from the movies on here. And there's all sorts of cool stuff to look at when you're in here. Just memorabilia of the James Bond series. So it's really, really, really cool. So it's kind of like a museum / a fun little place. There's actually scavenger hunts you can do. And here's the lovely art on my table. There's some of the lights that are in there. The menu. It's got like top secret. These are the scavenger hunt rules or things that you need to look for. And everything in here is kind of images from the James Bond movies. The TVs were even playing. Some of you can see Roger Moore there. Some of the James Bond movies that were playing on the TV. They had stuff embedded in the actual table itself. There's a whiskey sour that I ordered. And here's some more pictures. There's actually an autographed one of Jaws there. And they kept telling me to go upstairs. I guess there's a magician up there. There was nobody up there when I was up there, so I don't know. It was kind of an upstairs area you can eat. It was kind of different. That's actually over top of one of the bars. So there's kind of like a lot of this, just like little areas within here. I didn't even go downstairs. I know there's a downstairs area where you can actually, there's a kind of like a pilot's chair that it pushes you right up into the main bar. Kind of like an elevator or something. These are it's all related to like I said, the James Bond movies. And there's all sorts of stuff in there. But you can look at this apartment. Looks like it's got all sorts of stuff. Spider-Man and other things in there. Targets on the floor. Lovely. And there was a Swiss chalet, where you can get shirts and stuff. But what I didn't know is when you come in, you can see this guy doing the sprinkler, is that's the doorway. They actually record you while you're at the doorway and everybody can see it. So everybody got to see me. Got to see me dancing like a bunny. But anyways, it was a lot of fun. Definitely recommend that place. A lot of cool things there. All right, that's a wrap on AdeptiCon 2025. It's time for me to go back home. I really had an amazing week, and I really love the new venue. And I look forward to coming back to AdeptiCon again. It's a real good experience, and I can see a lot of potential and growth in this new location. Just going to get stronger and stronger, and it's going to be an absolute amazing event to be a part of all the time. All right, I'll catch you on the other side. So this is the very next morning. I'm just going down to the main lobby. I've already, actually I booked my Uber the night before. I'd stopped for another sweet tea. Again, just waiting in the lobby. My final thoughts about AdeptiCon 2025 was it was an amazing time. Really love the new locale. Great food, great atmosphere in Milwaukee, and I can see that this is going to be something that's going to grow and grow. All right, so I got to get on my plane and fly back home. That's pretty much it for this video. Thanks so much for following along, and I will see you in the next one.